It's Bengals and Chiefs with playoff hopes on the line. Will the Bengals get it done on Sunday? Hear from Mike Hilton, Jamar Chase, and much, much more right now on Enter the Jungle. Hi again, everyone. I'm James Rapien. Welcome in to our first ever episode of Enter the Jungle here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. We're so excited to be part of the Big Play Network, and this is a weekly show that will stream right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk each and every week. Andrew Fox Miller will join me in just a bit. You will hear from Jamar Chase, Mike Hilton, but let's start. And by the way, Jake Browning on Aliens and what Joe Burrow had to say about them earlier this week. So we'll get to a ton over the next 20 minutes or so. But let's start with the Bengals and where they're at right now. 8-7. They're on the outside looking in the playoff picture. And I think after 3 straight wins, a lot of people saw that Pittsburgh loss and said, okay, they're done. Okay, they're done. And you know what? Maybe they are done. It would not be insane to think that they're going to go to Kansas City and lose, or that they'll lose to Cleveland, a team that has had their number. But this team, really all season long, has responded the right way to adversity. Maybe it takes another week or two than we want, or maybe it takes too long in game than you hope. But they've done that, from starting 0-2 to winning, to rebounding from a 1-3 start to getting to 5-3, to losing 3 straight and losing their starting quarterback and still finding a way to get to 8-6. And so now they're at another crossroads, going into Kansas City with an 8-7 record. And it's pretty simple playoff picture wise. This Bengals team, they have to win on Sunday against the Chiefs. And if you beat the Browns next week, you have a real shot at the postseason. 93% entering week 17. So win and you're probably in. And yet, I don't think many people expect the Bengals, including people here in Cincinnati, expect the Bengals to win the next 2, to go to Kansas City and win at Arrowhead against Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce in a Chiefs defense that we will talk about and hear Jamar Chase discuss coming up a little bit later. This is a team that can play pressure free. This is a team that can look around and say, we have nothing to lose. And sometimes those are the most dangerous teams. Those are the teams that can maybe catch the Chiefs off guard, or much like they did in Jacksonville, surprise everyone. Because let's just time back to November 27th, which was a day after the Bengals got crushed. Even though it was 16-10, it didn't feel like 16-10. They lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was Jake Browning's first start. They were 5-6, and everyone kind of expected, okay, let's start looking at the draft and discussing the draft. Well, what happened? They rattled off 3 straight, including an overtime win on Monday Night Football, responding the right way against, at the time, a team in Jacksonville that was one of the teams in the mix for the number 1 seed in the AFC. So this Bengals team, they've responded the right way all season long. And so why should anybody, me included, count them out now? I think it's going to be a challenge going into Kansas City. It always is, whether it's the crowd, whether it's the fact that their defense is really, really talented, or the fact that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, at some point, they got to figure it out, right? Maybe not on Sunday, but regardless, I think this Bengals team can play free, play pressure free, and it's not just me that thinks that. I've talked to multiple players in the locker room, and they feel like it's almost a house money type of game where the pressure is on the Chiefs, this struggling Chiefs team that just lost to the Raiders, even though the Raiders didn't have a quarterback that could complete a pass in the second half. And this Chiefs team, they're dealing with their issues. And so a fast start is so important. And most of the time when you hear fast start, you think about offense and putting up points. I actually look at Lou Anarumo's defense for this game, because if the defense can frustrate Patrick Mahomes early, a quick 3 and out, or back-to-back punts to start, well, the crowd is going to get uneasy. We've seen Travis Kelce throw his helmet. We've seen Patrick Mahomes lose his mind at the end of a game at officials, and then also get really upset at the offensive line last week, trying to fire them up. This defense, if they can start fast and frustrate Patrick Mahomes and frustrate this Chiefs offense that has struggled, well, then they might have a shot to pull off an upset on the road in Kansas City. Almost the exact opposite of what they did against George Pickens last week. Pickens was struggling going into that game, and they let him off the hook on the second play from scrimmage. You cannot let the Chiefs off the hook here. You have to find a way to get stops early and frustrate them, much like the Raiders and other opposing defenses have done. Up next, will Jamar Chase play in Kansas City? He's had some interesting comments this week, certainly about the Chiefs secondary. Find out what he said next on Enter the Jungle. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. I'm James Rapien. We'll be joined by Andrew Fox Miller in just a second. Let's get some health updates. First and foremost, Cam Taylor-Britt, he is back, which is certainly a sight for sore eyes for those that watched George Pickens have the game that he had last week. Cam Taylor-Britt is obviously the Bengals' number one cornerback. He's in his second year. He has 4 interceptions on the year, had a big pick 6 earlier this season against Arizona, and has brought the juice, as he likes to say, and that's certainly his nickname. And he's a big part of this defense. And if they are going to get off to that start that I discussed, they need Cam Taylor-Britt out there, and they need him playing at a high level. I would expect him to be matched up on Marquez Valdez-Scantling early, often, and who knows, maybe he'll move around some, but I certainly expect him to try to take away the deep threat or the Chiefs' number one deep threat on that wide receiver unit. But the main health tracker this week, let's be honest, we've been focusing on Jamar Chase. And Jamar Chase was able to practice on Thursday. He went through routes on the rehab field on Wednesday. It feels like he's going to play, but what he said is what really stands out. Here's Jamar Chase on Thursday discussing the Chiefs secondary when I asked him about his upcoming opponent. What stands out about that secondary for the Chiefs?
If I'm being honest, nothing. They just know how to play us. They know the leverages. They know what splits we in. They just know what we gonna do, certain movements. They throw a little double-doubles at us to stop the 2 best players on the outside, and that's all they do. I mean, it's not really like they got a Jalen Ramsey on these squads, you know what I'm saying? So, not much. At the end of the day, there's so much that I can do myself. It's not like I'm Iron Man. I can't throw the football to myself, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a team sport. At the end of the day, it's just, I know what I see on paper, I know what I see in game. That's why they double everybody, because they can't do it one-on-one. The best player on their team is Snead, and that's a fact. Everybody knows that. That's why they double everything they see. They just got, they drafted 2 new corners that's longer. They're trying to match Snead. That's why Snead at corner now. I already know it. Like, I'm not bugged about it. They know I'm good. They know how to play us. That's what it is, but it's not like they got a superstar on their defense. I'm just adding fire to the fuel right now. They're going to take this run with it. Hope they put it in the locker, but it's all right, though. As long as I'm mentally ready to play, I got to be.
This feels by design a little bit. To give them a little bit. Add to the fire, like you just mentioned. Is it, or did you just decide?
I don't know, man. I love it. Some days I wake up pissed off. So today is one of them.
Today is one of them. Jamar Chase with an interesting, to say the least, set of comments there. And obviously we clipped them up. And let's bring in Andrew Fox Miller for reaction. Look, I think the thing that stands out the most to me, Andrew, is the reaction. And whether it's on our Facebook page, social media channels, I don't think many Bengals fans liked the trash talk. The fact that he said nothing when asked what stands out about the Chiefs secondary. And I'll give you my thoughts on it in just a second, but your reaction to that, because I'm not sure you've seen all of those clips certainly put together. So your thoughts.
For the sake of this moment, James, I sat on a good portion of this video. I wanted to watch it and get a fresh perspective on it. It's interesting that you say that the reaction on social media from fans is that they don't like him doing this, because my instinct also was a bit of, what does this serve? I don't like this feeling. This is a feeling we've experienced before as Bengals fans. You put it out there, and we got other things, other priorities we need to worry about. Let's just get Chase on the field, and this is creating noise. But there's another part of me, and I think it's the overwhelming part of me, that really enjoys it. I like the confidence. I like Jamar just going out there and saying what he's saying, and there's a swagger to it. It reminds me a lot of, obviously, Chad Johnson. And why not? You talked about house money earlier. Like, this is fun to me. Maybe not to everybody, but
Sure.
it is to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think a couple of things. One, it was calculated. I'll tell you right now. I could see the wheels spinning in his head, and he talked for about 12 minutes. We put the entire thing on our channel, Cincinnati Bengals Talk, but the wheels were turning, and he got to a point where he was like, okay, now's the time. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's because he woke up feeling pissed off, his words, not mine. I don't know if it's, hey, these guys feel like the house money thing is house money, and it's not. We need to get focused. I don't know exactly what his intent was. Maybe it's just as simple as to fire him up so he can make sure that he's ready to go. He's obviously coming back from a shoulder separation. It sounds like he's going to play, like I said, and I expect him to play, certainly after these comments. But maybe he wants to use that as fuel a little bit, knowing he won't be 100%. I'm not sure about the logic. Here's what I will say. The reason why, and I'll ask Mike Hilton about this coming up, but the reason why Bengals-Chiefs is the best rivalry in the NFL, but it feels a little different this time around, is because it doesn't feel like the stakes are as high. Even though there's playoff hopes on the line for both teams, the Chiefs are still trying to win the AFC West. The Bengals are obviously in the thick of the AFC playoff race. It doesn't feel as big. And Jamar Chase is a big-time player. He wants it to feel big, and that's where he plays his best. And I think that might be part of it. And if so, great. The trash talk between these two teams has been awesome. I don't think that's why the Chiefs won the AFC Championship game last year, because Mike Hilton said Burrowhead. In fact, I don't think it had anything to do with it. You know what I think it was? You get to a 3rd and 8, and you have to deal with Chris Jones on 3rd and 8 after converting a 3rd and 16. You're just rolling the dice too much, and that's not gonna fly with the game on the line. And there were plenty of other reasons why that we don't need to revisit. But I love the trash talk. I think it's so refreshing by Jamar Chase. He's done it this year a lot. And Jamar Chase is on pace to be the best receiver in Bengals history. So if this is what works, Jamar, keep doing it.
100%. Yeah. Whatever Jamar needs, to your point, if this is what he needs to make this interesting, to really get, add what, as he put it, fire to the fuel. Was that it? Or was it was flipped around, right?
He said fire to the fuel, which
that's right.
We debated in the media room, or not even debated, discussed. And he's kind of right. Like if you throw a bunch of fuel down and then you light the match, you're adding fire to the fuel. So he might not be totally wrong there.
Even if it doesn't make sense, whatever Jamar needs.
That's right. And obviously he's such a huge part of this Bengals offense. It is a really good Chiefs secondary. My words, not his. They are talented. And so if you can have Jamar Chase on the field, obviously it would do wonders for Jake Browning, T. Higgins. I talked to T this week about that, and T would love to have Jamar Chase on the field. You can bet that. So we'll see if Jamar is on the field. I expect him to be. And if so, then let the trash talk continue. I'm excited, even more so for Sunday following what Jamar had to say. Speaking of Sunday, up next, I talk one-on-one with Mike Hilton about Bengals-Chiefs, the rivalry, and the mindset going into Kansas City. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. Let's talk with Bengals cornerback Mike Hilton, who is known for making the Burrowhead comments. He's also known for sacking opposing quarterbacks and being really, really good, not only against the run and around the line of scrimmage, but just one of the best nickel cornerbacks in the NFL. I got to catch up with Mike Hilton earlier this week in the Bengals locker room. Mike, you've answered a ton of questions about the Burrowhead stuff. Obviously, this is a rivalry. In my opinion, the biggest rivalry in the NFL, certainly entering the season. Does this week feel different than previous weeks leading up to Bengals-Chiefs, just given how the seasons went and the circumstances?
I mean, yeah, honestly, with some injuries on both teams and, the records right now for both teams, you know what I mean? But it's still one of those games everybody's tuned in, everybody gets up for. It's best on best. The Chiefs have been the standard for the AFC for these last 5-6 years, and we've kind of been the team to challenge them. So when we play them, we know it's going to be fun and exciting.
You guys as a unit last week didn't play the way you wanted to against Pittsburgh. Meanwhile, they, on offense, haven't played up to their standards, what they're used to doing. What do you have to do to make sure that they don't get things right against you and you guys get right against them?
Number one, we got to stop the run. Pacheco's having a real good year, and they're learning how to keep defense off balance by running the ball more. So We definitely have to stop the run early on and then make 15 throw in the tight windows. Obviously, everybody know he can make any throw from any type of platform, but make it difficult for him. Make him read different coverages and just see different things and hopefully force him to some mistakes.
During the 3-game winning streak with Browning, one thing I noticed about this team, anytime you guys got punched, there was always a counter. The Colts game, it's 14-14 at half, even though you guys dominated. But
14-14 after that.
Yeah, the Tyler Boyd interception against Jacksonville. You guys, each game there was something where you guys responded the right way. Obviously, that didn't happen against Pittsburgh. Arrowhead's a really tough place to play. You know how to play there, of course. How do you make sure that happens this week? Because you know they're going to have their hits and get their licks in too.
You know, that's the name of the game. You always have an opportunity to bounce back. You know what I mean? It's going to be punches thrown each way, heavyweight punches at that. But whichever team rebounds the best and can adjust on the fly, you know, we feel like we come out victorious. And we trust the coaches with the game plan. We just, as players, got to go out and execute.
Mike, I appreciate the time.
No problem.
That's Bengals cornerback Mike Hilton, and he talked at length about wanting to redeem himself after struggling a bit in last year's AFC Championship game. If the Bengals can get a win in Kansas City, it would certainly not only boost their playoff chances, but help make up for what was an ugly day for him at Arrowhead in January. Up next, what happens when quarterbacks and aliens collide? We'll get to that on Enter the Jungle. Joe Burrow may be out for the season after he continues to recover after undergoing season-ending wrist surgery last month, but that doesn't mean he's not making an impact. Not only is he on the sideline during the game and around the team, but Burrow tweeting, "Show me the aliens." It was his first tweet in quite some time. He tweeted it earlier this week, and that led to Jake Browning being asked about extraterrestrials.
Can you give us any context about what Joe Burrow was talking about when he's asking about answers on aliens?
Answers on aliens?
Yes.
I have not.
It's the alien conversation like with Joe.
I think he knows I'm not really his audience for that. But I don't know. I'm always here for a good conspiracy theory, so it's kind of a nice little change of pace probably, but I have not heard the aliens one. I'm sure I will at some point.
Believe in aliens?
I don't even care. I'm just trying to figure out Earth.
That is the best answer, Andrew, that I've heard. I don't even care. I'm still trying to figure out Earth. And let's start there with Jake Browning. I think the best part wasn't his historical start for the Bengals through the first 4 games of his starting career for the team. But I love his one-liners, and it seems like every single week we get 1 or 2 from Jake Browning. So he's been really good on the field outside of last week, and off the field, he's certainly got a sense of humor.
Yeah, the trying to figure out Earth is so great. There may be even a little bit of a analogy there, I suppose, too, of coming back down to Earth and all that. Okay, we don't need to get too deep into it.
You're right.
But what I love, in my mind, out there somewhere, Burrow can't answer to this. He throws it out there after over a year of tweeting anything, right? Mm-hmm. And does he, in that scenario, know that Jake's the one that's going to have to get asked about this? Like, is it a way of like you answer to this one, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's actually a question. It was brought up in the locker room earlier this season, and I asked Joe about it then, and he said, basically, it remains to be seen.
Jurt's still out, I think is what he said.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. And so I think that, one, it's funny that Jake just said, "I don't care. I'm not worried about aliens." Joe might be, as he continues to recover. And I think he was reading a book too that might have had to do with potential aliens in the universe and all of those things. He wore the alien head during Halloween. So clearly this is
49ers game, right?
Yeah, this is something that Burrow is fascinated with. But I think it's so funny that, one, he tweets it out, gets a ton of reaction, and he breaks his Twitter silence. And then 2, you're right, Jake Browning has to answer it, doesn't know it's coming. And I asked him afterwards if he had used that. You know, I'm still trying to figure out Earth because he just said it. So, and no, that was just him off the cuff. So he's got a sense of humor. I'll say this, if he plays as well as he landed that joke in the media room where everybody laughed, then I think the Bengals are going to win on Sunday.
It's fair. Burrow might have just set him up for a brilliant moment that they'll get played over and over. Perhaps But ultimately, too, like to your point, Burrow, by the way, we're not just talking recent alien mask and questions in locker room scrums and things like that. We're talking back like LSU, it was documented. He was just sitting around watching ancient aliens in his hotel room and things like that. So the fact that people were concerned that Burrow was getting hacked when he posted that, just no, that's Joe Burrow.
That's Joe Burrow. That's part of the weirdness that is Joe Burrow. And I say that in a good way. And hopefully he continues to recover. We are going to have you covered every single week here on Enter the Jungle. This was just episode 1. We're really excited to be partnered with Big Play. And man, it's Bengals, it's Chiefs. It feels different, and yet the stakes are really, really high. We will have you covered, as always, on Cincinnati Bengals Talk on YouTube. And for Andrew Fox Miller, I'm James Rapien. Thank you so much for watching Enter the Jungle.